Good morning, Saturday morning, January, third week. Oh my gosh, you guys, can you believe it already? It's, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, time just goes super fast or what's going on, but it's been just a little cray. And that's all good. Good morning. Oh my goodness. So the dance continues. I'll get right into it. And those of you that come on, love to have you share it out, comment where you're from, who you are, and just say hi. I'd love to say hello back to you. And so last week we talked about we're talking about Chippendales versus female dancers, and what does that even mean? Why do Chippendales get to be praised and female dancers are villainized? And we talked a little bit about, we talked a lot about Chippendales and where this is heading in this series that is moving forward. And one thing I'd like to talk about again too is that my friend, we will be interviewing him, I promise, he's coming up, is Victor Brooks, who was a Chippendale for many, many years. And I had watched the documentary, and you can watch that in the previous video that is now uploaded to YouTube, also right here live or saved on this page. You can go to the YouTube channel and listen in on that. And what we talked about was how the Chippendales got started, how he and I had met, and also where this industry is going to be another piece of that on where this is headed. This industry is never going away. Just let's be clear about that. It's never going away. So how can we change what our money in this industry, right? So let me give you a little background on me. My name is Shelly Jean, and in this industry, I was in this industry for 17 and a half years. I was Entertainer of the Year at a very amazing, extraordinary club in Minneapolis, Minnesota called Solid Gold. And it was one of the very first premier clubs in the country that was created by Michael J. Peters. And we talked a lot about Michael J. Peters, as Michael is basically the godfather of the nightclubs. And I want to talk and just highlight a little bit about that too. And we'll get back to that in just a second. So having worked in this industry for 17 and a half years, I left the industry a broken millionaire. I had made a lot of money and I had spent it just as fast. And it was crazy. And we do that in the tipping industry too. And the reason I decided to air and start talking about this industry and these events is obviously we just came out of a very crazy time with the C word, and it was awful. And this industry took a huge hit. There were many, I mean, obviously the clubs were all shut down. Not just the dancers, but there's many people that are involved in that. There's dancers, there's waitresses or servers or whatever you want to call them. There's doormen, there's valet, there's floormen, there's DJs, there's house moms, there's the entertainers, there's the guests, the customers, whatever that is for you. And that industry took a major hit. And the sad thing about that is that I've learned is that a lot of the industry didn't get any federal money, right? So how was it that they survived? And we'll learn more about that in another session moving forward. This is why I'm speaking about this. And again, like I said, I left the industry a broken millionaire. I had nobody that taught me anything about money. Nobody. And it was crazy to think that I had all that money, and I lived my kids and I lived a very great life, and I was married at the time, and we definitely had a lot of fun, right? And I also realized I had a lot of things too that were seemingly just ridiculously stupid to have, and learned that I would have rather had invested my money into things that would have made more financial sense other than filling up every single corner and every single hole on the wall in my house. Like, you seriously could walk in my house and it was like Holly Hobby. It was just ridiculous. Like, my shopping was the thing. And my kids, I loved being able to have hey Rhonda, nice to have you here. So my kids were very, very fortunate in the fact that they were very, very spoiled. And I was very, very fortunate in the fact that I was able to attend all their softball games, baseball games, whatever sport it was they decided they wanted to go into. Hey, Kaz, love to have you here. Thank you so much. That I was able and fortunate to be able to do all these things, right? Because first of all, I had a night job and I didn't have to go in. In the beginning, I used to have to go in 5 or 6 in the evening. And so I had a really, really great friend that lived with me, really, really was instrumental in helping me with my kids, cooking dinners, all the things, helping with homework. I was very, very fortunate in that regard. And we really just helped each other out. So she really had a free place to stay, but really didn't, as she was, second to taking care of my family. And I really love and respect her for that. She was with me for a very, very long time. And then I didn't have to go into work until like 8 or 9 at night. So then I'd go in for a few hours. I make as much money in a few hours as I would going in at 5. So it made more sense to me to go in at 5 o'clock or 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night than it did coming in at 5 and 6. So it gave me more time to be with my kids, put my kids to bed, and I was very, very blessed with that. So why do I speak of all these things? And again, it's to bring awareness to the fact that this industry, again, we went through a sea time and there was so many of these incredibly amazing, beautiful humans that don't have the opportunity to be respected by the normal public, didn't even get to receive federal money. And so my joy in bringing about these Saturday mornings and also creating, I have a Facebook group, private Facebook group that we can go in where it's a place of safety. We can talk about the things that we can do to help each other move to a different level in this industry. Because right now we're going into, basically people are saying a recession. Some people say we already are. Some people say that we're going into it. And there's always going to be that next big thing. So how can I help and serve you and show you what you can do with your finances while you're in this industry? You're making hundreds of dollars. I know that you are. And where can you put that? So I have a lot of really great, amazing, exceptional people in my corner that are very willing to help in that area. I am very resourceful. I have great resources. And I'm super excited that these people too are excited to be able to help in any way that they can. So this is why I want to bring about the awareness in this industry, because they deserve to have, to do, and to be better financially, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And like I said, I left this industry a broken millionaire. And had I learned, how to invest my money, where to put my money, who the right people would be to surround myself with, my life definitely would have been in a whole completely different direction. And so I want to save years of that for you. And to know too that I was in the industry in the same club, in the same state, same city for 17 and a half years. So I can tell you with certainty that if there was ever a Guinness Book of World Records for the longest standing entertainer in any one club, that would be me. So never in the history have I ever heard of such a thing, and neither has anybody else. So do I have a little bit of knowledge about what's going on in this industry? Yes, I absolutely do. So you're in the right place at the right time. And this isn't just only for this adult gentlemen's club industry. This is also for you. The average, I'm not going to say average, we're all exceptional people. The person, the general public, there you go, is to share with you that we're not evil people, that we're not, in fact, I incredibly think we're some pretty badasses, if I do say so myself, because we had the guts, the courage, the things, to go into an industry that most people would not, and that most people do judge. And you know what? I did it as a survival means. Hi, Mary Jane Cruz. Nice to have you here. So I went into this industry with the knowledge. Well, first of all, I have a whole big backstory to that. And I don't want to get into all of that, but I have a very, very good friend who, do you ever have that friend that you just cannot say no to? And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And this friend, she was very, very great and very instrumental in getting me to say yes to a profession that not even on my radar. Like, I didn't even know what it was. This is how naive I am, you guys. Like, I didn't even know what it was, the dancing industry. Like, I've never been to a club before. I've never seen anyone dance before. Now, did I know of magazines like Playboy, Penthouse, all those things? Of course, right? So thank you, Mary Jane. Appreciate it. And so I knew that, but I didn't know anything about dancing, and I definitely was not a dancer. Well, my girlfriend is this just beautiful soul, and she loves dancing, and she loves choreographing, and she does all the things. In fact, we'll be talking to her at a later date too, because she was the one who got me involved in this industry. And I shared a little bit about the story, how we ended up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was her and I and another girlfriend of mine named Beth. And Beth was a little hurt that I didn't mention her last week, so I'm mentioning her right now. And we had came up here, all three of us together, to go check out the brand new hottest club in Minneapolis called Solid Gold. And when we came, we were recruited by this freaking phenomenal dude named Wayne Chung, who's still in the industry, still working the clubs down in Minneapolis, and he was just pretty phenomenal. Anyway, what happened was I definitely got recruited into the club, and I decided that for 1 year I would come here. I would move to Minneapolis for 1 year, and that's what my plans were. And again, it was 17 and a half years later. So that just goes to tell you that club, and that club was like a Las Vegas style club. It was very elite, just gorgeous. And the women, they were all tens, and there was a protocol. There were rules and regulations that were set in place for girls and men and women that came into that club. You had to be a certain way. If you worked it, you had to be a certain way. You had to look a certain way. Like, there were rules. And if you didn't adhere to those rules, you didn't get to play the game. So you didn't get to make the money, right? So again, and things definitely have evolved. There's so many different things that have happened in that industry. And the one thing that I can say about that, like I said, is that we've just gone through, a really challenging time, and this industry did not get federal money. Most didn't anyway. And that's not just in the adult gentlemen's club industry, but it also was in the serving industry, as far as like tipping, like, your local restaurants, all these different things. So what are you doing with your money? Like, where are you investing it? Who are you putting your trust in? Who are you putting your faith in? Like, who are you listening to that can really assist you in getting to a new place with all of your financial goals? And I got to tell you, like I said, I sat with millionaires time after time after time again, and I had no clue any of the questions to ask on how they created their business, how they created their money, what they did. Owners of businesses, we had many of those come in. We even had, we had Congress people come in. It was a very elite type of people that came into the club, along with, normal football crowds, hockey crowds, just all the people. There was so much money that came through that club. It was amazing. Michael J. Peters was very, very smart in how he created this club, and we all got to be a huge, huge part of that. And I do have to say that I am super, super grateful for that. And so I was reading up on Michael J. Peters. We touched on this a little bit last week, because there's two different types of men that were in this industry. And the Chippendales, excuse me, I had to go back just 1 second. Oh my goodness. I just had his name here. Where'd it go? The Chippendales founder he actually started out in a garage. He was working at a garage, and his name was Saman I want to say Banerjee. There you go, Saman Banerjee. And he got really teased about his name. And so he decided to change his name to Steve. And he knew, though, that he wanted to make a difference in his life. And just short story, going back to last week, he decided to open a backgammon club, which was a total flop. And he had this guy named Nick come in to the picture. And then things started to shift and really started to change. So you want to hear that story, just go back to last week's and listen to that. And then Michael J. Peters, he decided to create very elite clubs. Like I said, they're like Las Vegas style clubs. Our club was so beautiful, absolutely freaking amazing. And Michael so a little bit of backstory about Michael. So I went and did my due diligence on Michael. And these are the things that you can do. It's so easy. Obviously, we have a little handheld computer at our hands at all times, and you can Google anything, right? And there was a period of time when I was working for Michael, and Michael was being investigated for a lot of different things. Hey, Rena, it's good to have you here, sweetheart. So Michael was being investigated for a lot of different things, and one of them was tax fraud. He was living down in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, it was Fort Lauderdale. I had to think about where I was. No, Orlando. I'm sorry, Orlando, because it was Orlando. And so I, at that time, was asked with another girl named Shelly to go down to Orlando and talk with investigators about Michael J. Peters. So we got to stay at his house. It was absolutely beautiful. And I never met him. But I worked at another one of his clubs while I was here called the Dollhouse. And it was so completely different than Solid Gold, but it was just as nice. And so 17 and a half years later, my club that I worked at went through many, many, many different managers, many different changes. And a few of them, those managers are still working and actually own their own clubs. And one person in particular that I want to talk about is Dennis DeGore. And Dennis DeGore was Michael J. Peters' first right-hand man. Dennis was the very first manager that I was introduced to at Solid Gold. And Dennis wanted nothing to do with me. Oh no, I was this little Midwestern South Dakota girl coming on up into Solid Gold, Minneapolis, with all these women that were 10s, and I mean curvy, beautiful, gorgeous, and here I come, flat-chested, kind of frumpy, totally naive to the whole scene whatsoever. And Wayne Chung was like, she's going to be one of our top dancers. I promise you, just give her time. And I didn't know any of that though till way later. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So anyway, so Dennis and I got off on the wrong foot right from the very beginning. But I did have, and I still do, I just had a really big heart. And my nickname even at work was Smiley, because I'm always smiling. And I didn't know if it was out of nervousness or I really actually just had a lot of fun there. It was great. People were amazing. And I was scared to death. Like, I was like, what is this South Dakota girl doing in this big sea of just beautiful 10s? And it was crazy. And I look back on it now and I was like, wow, I did that. That's pretty badass. Like, what? And I got to think that way in other things that I do in my life instead of, and we'll get into that too. But the last 12 years when life really handed me some major storms, I really just shrunk back to this little kid that, was told you're not enough, you're this, you're that, you speak too much, you're all the things, right? And so it's been a work in progress and process for the last 12 years. And I decided, you know what? This industry is where I've been. This is where I spent 17 and a half years of my life. My kids, my now ex-husband, we had gone through so much together, and my kids got to live a really, really good life. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that, I got to take care of my family in a way that wasn't normal to society. And it's a very judged, hey, Lisa, Son of my camaraderies right here. And this is an industry that is very ill spoken of, and the Chippendales are praised. I'm like, what? Why do the Chippendales get to be praised and the female dancers have this awful, awful tags attached to them, like prostitution? You know, I got to watch some of my words so that Facebook doesn't get upset with me. But we're a very bashed society. And I do call that a society because it's like we're our own entity over here. And yes, are there girls that give us a bad name? Absolutely. Are you kidding me? I've seen it. I've been to other clubs where I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never work here in a million years. And what breaks my heart too, though, is that these girls, these women, think that they have to do such things for $1. And we worked in a club that was so elite that when I very first started working there, we had to dance on what was called pedestals. And we had to dance like 5 feet away from the guy. And, you know, it was $10 a dance when it first started. And all we were doing was showing we're being topless. There's no nudity in this club whatsoever. And we had a standard of how we had to dress. We had to dress like really elegant dresses. We had to have, just really elegant T-bars is what we called them, or thongs is what, the underwear are these days. And it was of excellence that you had to look to be in this club. Your hair had to be done a certain way. We had my favorite hairdresser. His name's Rocky. He's no longer with us. He actually committed suicide. And that'll be a whole other story for another day. But I miss those days. I was being pampered. He did my makeup, did my hair. He got all the girls dressed up and beautiful to, show their greatness on stage. And the Chippendales were the same way. Oh, yes, Lisa, you're right. Or getting sent home if your nails weren't done. Like, I mean, it was so particular. And I'm surprised that I'm not seeing the messages on my live right here, but I'm seeing them pop up on the messages that you write on the page, and I'm coming live from my phone. So I'm gonna have to switch this to doing this on my computer so I can see you guys chat with me. So sorry about that, Lisa. I'm just catching that. But yes, Lisa was with me, she knows. And I mean, it was very, very strict. And Dennis put up with nothing. Like if you didn't follow things exactly how we wanted it, you were out the door. And you wanted to follow the rules and you wanted to do the right things because there was hundreds of dollars to be made a night. And so I didn't make as much money as a lot of girls did, but I did make good money for me. There were girls that would leave with, a lot of money. Like, let's talk over $1,000 a night. And I'd be under that, but I'd still do really well. So there's no complaints, right? So, and again, even the girls that I knew then, and I still know to this day that made that kind of money, I'm like, what did we do with our money? Like, it just boggles my mind and blows my mind. But there's a reason. First of all, like I said, we didn't have the right people in place in our lives to be able to teach us what to do with our money. And I do have that now, and I am so grateful for that. And secondly, like I said, the next big thing is coming, right? We're going into a recession, or like I said, some people say we are in a recession. So where is this industry at with their money right now? I don't know, but I'm definitely going to find out about that. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of really amazing clubs down here. There's the managers. The managers on here still own the clubs down here. And you know what? I think I'm going to try to get Lisa to come on video with me. We'll see what we can do about that. Because Lisa, she's amazing. I love this girl. Send invite. We'll see. Bring them on. All right, Lisa. Oh, I think it's because you're trying to still come on. I don't know. We'll see. But if you come on, it'd be great. Oh, there she is. Lisa!
Hi.
Hey, sweetness. How are you?
Well, I didn't know I'd be joining. I was just saying hi.
Hold on. I just fell off the face. Well, you asked to join, and I would love to have you because you definitely are instrumental. So feel
It's okay.
free, girl.
I'm going to go back to being quiet, though. I'm loving what you're saying. It's bringing back such a time. We didn't know what we were doing.
We sure did not. Oh my gosh. This is the perks of going right here.
I'm gonna listen to you.
Right,
You're doing great.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah.
But for your support, I love you. I love that we, got to do this together. We went through a lot.
Yeah, same day surgeries.
Yes.
That was crazy.
Can you believe it?
No, I still can't believe we were there the same day.
Nope.
Well, you look great. I'm not showered. I'm going to chime out, but I wanted to say hi and I love you and I'm enjoying listening and reminiscing to this stuff.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. I'm so glad you came out. Lisa, say hi for a real quick minute.
Okay.
All right, we'll talk again soon then.
Oh, so for sure.
All right, hon, thanks. There she goes. She's out. That's awesome. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. So that was one of the big things too that we did, that the body image, the mind, the whole thing is like, so how can we make more money? And that was one of the things. And that is a big deal. If you go on any of my social media, I talk about breast implants and I also talk about breast explants because I got really, really sick with them. And I explanted 2 years ago, actually, this next week, actually, and I'm still recovering. You can see, like I have, this used to be all up and down my arm, all up on my legs, all over my feet. And even in the summertime, I'd be wearing long shirts and my kids would be like, Mom, what are you wearing long shirts for? And I'm like, are you joking right now? Like, look like a spotted something or another. I don't even know. It was awful. And anyway, and then I had brain fog so bad that I couldn't even remember where I parked my car. It's a big story. I do have some of those on my YouTube channel too. And please do go to my YouTube channel, Shelly Jean, and subscribe. And if you feel compelled at all, please share this with other people and let them know about the channel too, especially in our industry. Because again, Lisa, as you know, I know that I was talking about that. So the girls that I know that have been in this industry and made a lot more money than me even are working whatever job they're working paycheck to paycheck, or they're still even trying to find their groove. And I've been out of it now for, you guys, I worked until I was 48 years old in that industry. So the picture that you see in my thumbnail, even on my YouTube from last week, that first one was in my 30s. I was actually on stage with I have a little hard hat on. I was on stage with ZZ Top. The second picture, I was 50, and that was actually at an event that I went to, and that was when I very first was challenged to talk about this industry. And then the third one is I was 60, and now I'm now 62. So again, do I have, can I talk to you about this industry? Absolutely. Like, I know it. And so does Lisa. And again, we have a lot of other people. I have another great friend. You'll want to go look at her interview with me. Hey, Teresa, nice to have you here. So she too, her name is Laura. Actually, Laura had breast implant illness too. So we talk in great detail about that. That's on my YouTube channel. You can feel free to go and check her out. And then also I did an interview with another Laura, Libby, who's huge she owns her own business. She's a wonderful, beautifully renowned burlesque dancer. She now is doing a really amazing in meditation, all these different things. So some of the girls in our industry definitely have evolved and have gone on to do some really great things. And again, though, there's some that are just still stuck. Like, where do they go? What do they do? And again, that's why I'm here, so that we can talk about those things and being able to get you into the next thing. And again, the girls that I worked with too, I want to share this with you. They were amazing. At that time, we were a really great, excellent, exceptional group of young women and men who definitely aspired to be the best we could be in this industry. And again, we weren't hookers, prostitutes, all the things that are judged and talked about in our industry. We at that time, women were going to school, they're going to college for whatever it was they wanted to pursue. We have artists in the group. There's one of, unfortunately, one of the beautiful, sweetest young entertainers that we had actually went to school and became a prenatal nurse. And she was killed in a motorcycle accident a few years ago. It was very, very heartbreaking. In fact, my very first Harley that I ever had, actually sold it to her. And so I got some really great memories around Diana. She was just a bubble, a joy of love and light. And so it was very, very sad and tragic to see that she's no longer with us. And, you know, so it was in that period of time that it was like, we all knew like we had something. And for me, it was my family. Mine was taking care of my family. That was my first and foremost. And it still is to this day. Like, they are my biggest why that I do anything. And so it's very, very important to have that vision of why you are doing what you're doing. And that was collectively in that group that we grew up in an industry in solid gold. But the Michael J. Peters beginning was, you know, again, people just really doing the thing and spending money on school and not being in debt and buying the homes and buying the cars, all the things. And then it was amazing until it wasn't. Well, let me talk a little bit more about Michael J. Peters. So again, like I said, he is like the godfather of the clubs and of the elite clubs. I want to say that because there's complete difference. And even the Chippendales, like I said, with Banerjee, who created that. Well, Banerjee, though, upon, you know, he just became very, very greedy. And the Chippendales, Victor's going to be talking about this, maybe bringing him on with me. Victor's been a Chippendale forever. And I'll never forget when I met Victor. It was great. And we'll share our story together. I don't want to do it without him. And anyway, so their club in New York was set between a huge theater playhouse and another really huge historical landmarker. And so the Chippendales were a nightly review, and they were amazing. So when I talked to Victor about that, I said, what is the difference between why are we vilified and you guys are praised? And Victor made a very profound statement, as because we didn't do things like Vegas showgirls. Like, we definitely have a beautiful club and we do things in a really great way, but we didn't do, and we did have stage shows. We didn't do Vegas style stuff. In our club, though, interestingly enough, it was an entertainment club. And so I went into the world, and anybody ever asked me what I did, I was like, I work at a club. And they said, well, what do you do? And I'm in sales. And they say, what do you sell? I say merchandise, because I kind of did. I didn't say the whole thing. And then they'll say, well, what kind? And I'd just say entertainment. And nobody ever questioned me, which was interesting. Never questioned it. And then they say, well, what club do you work at? And then I would just say that, well, you'll have to go walk around and find me. I said, I'm not hard to find. We're right downtown Minneapolis. And that's all I would ever say. And I would just leave it at that. Because I learned that if I spoke my truth, then all of a sudden, oh my God, the world has come to an end. And how, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's, you know, a mom of 3 and a wife, and she's taking her clothes off for a living. Well, first of all, justified in my mind. I'm like, really? Like, I could go to the beach and see more nudity than I do in our club. I can promise you. It was ridiculous. And so for me, and it took me a while too. You know, my family was very proud of me because I was taking care of my family, my kids. You know, I wasn't on food stamps. I wasn't on the system. I wasn't any of that. And again, I spoiled my kids. Was able to go all their games, and so it was a different way of life for us. It just wasn't the way people would perceive it to be as this good thing, right? So we definitely got crushed, you know, mentally in that industry, and basically bullied. And as awful and horrible as that sounds, that was something I rose above. And that's why I said I feel like I'm a badass about that. Because at that time, I didn't care what you thought, didn't care anything about you, because you weren't taking care of me and I was taking care of me. And that's all that mattered. And then somewhere down the line, I started to care after that industry. And I even, you guys, the jobs I've had is just seriously ridiculous. I mean, there was a time where I even was scooping dog poop. Like, seriously? I was like, oh my God. But it was also at a time too where my son, my oldest, my firstborn, was very, very sick. And I was just doing whatever I could to, just fill in the gaps, fill in the holes to make sure that I could be with him whenever we lived at the hospitals. And so it was a really, really, really big deal. And so one of my main goals, one of my big purposes to be here is to educate the public that, what, the people that you're listening to right now, even though I was in that industry, does not make us bad people. It's what we did. It's not who we are. Like, there's so much greatness from so many of these incredible, exceptional people that you're going to be amazed and surprised and like Victor, like, oh my gosh, you guys are going to be like, oh my gosh, she's going to have a male stripper on there. Of course I am. Because you know what though? You guys love male strippers. Like, you guys go to clubs and you act worse than the men do. I am not joking about that. Like, it is so, I used to sit back when I would go to the shows with Victor and I would be like, oh my gosh. Like, that would never be allowed in our club. There was never, you could not touch. You couldn't even get that close. Ladies were planting like lip locks on these guys and like I was like, nope, nope, nope. That was not allowed. That was one of the things that attracted me to the business when I very first started in the first place, because there was none of that until there was. And that was 17 and a half years later. Then it was like, yeah, I'm out. And I was old enough anyways. There was a whole new generation of girls coming up and they really didn't care what any of us older girls had to say. There's a couple of us that stuck around for a while. The other girls though had come and gone, from the end, or not from the industry, but from that club to other clubs, and came back. And like I said, I was the only one that stayed in the same place. I don't know what's wrong with me, right? But it worked for me. So I have no regrets. I loved it. I loved the people. And so anyway, Michael J. Peters, who was the founder of Solid Gold, like I said, I got himself into trouble. And I'm on live. And of course, I was going to put a post up not to disturb during the podcast. I got two people at my door. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm not answering. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. That is really funny, actually. So anyway, so Michael J. Peters started the club, like I said, with Dennis DeGory. Now, Dennis DeGory now owns his own club. It's magnificent down in Miami called 11. And I am so excited to go to this club. Like, I cannot wait to go here. That was one of the reasons that brought me down to Florida, was, like I said, is to go visit the people that I used to work with and work for, who really, changed the trajectory of my life too. And so it's going to be pretty interesting and amazing to go see him. Warren Collazo is another one. He has a club down here in Florida too. I'm going to go see him. And Michael J. Peters is back. So Michael J. Peters did end up in prison. And we were told anyway as the industry that he was never allowed to open another club, do the things. Well, he's back, and he is the godfather of the clubs. He's back. He has a club in Fort Lauderdale. And so I was reading up on him. And these are some things I didn't know about him. So these are the things, again, it's about people like, do you even really know who you're talking about? Do you even really know? Like, he was pretty kingpin, like, in a good way, right? So let me just share a couple things. So he was featured on The Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous. Do you guys remember that show? Oh my gosh, I used to love to watch that show, and I never saw this one. So I'm hoping I can go back in the archives and find it. I think it'd be pretty fun. So he was featured on that. He was on numerous talk shows, and he even produced TV shows of his own, and he won many awards. He is founder of Platinum Magazine, which was a precursor to Maxim. Now he has been featured in New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Playboy, Penthouse Magazine, and he even, I think it was pure. I can say, no, I'm not gonna do that. So the song that we used to go on stage with all the time. So every hour on the hour, we had to sell an item, right? It had to be a towel, a mug, or T-shirt, or something that represented solid gold. And we had to go out on the song "Girls, Girls, Girls," right, by Motley Crue, and it was inspired by his operations. That's what it was in Fort Lauderdale, and so now he has a club of his own again, and he now continues. He's in his 70s, and he now continues to serve as a consultant for other clubs. So he's still, and so I went on the Dollhouse, right, and it's in Carolina, and I was on the website, and I was reading about, Michael and the club there and everything, and I was scrolling through the photos, and I'm like, wow, he's still got it going on. Like the girls are still dressed in these gorgeous gowns and dressed with really, fun costumes. And mine was, I still love all this. I love the beads, the pearls, like that. And that was my branding. And I had tassels. My name was Tassie. And people freaking, I would get these standing ovations, and it was so fun. Like I went from this frumpy Midwestern South Dakota girl to being entertainer of the year for 3 years in a row, getting to be on stages with people, like ZZ Top, and getting to meet just the 80s and 90s, you guys. I started in 1989. It was the best freaking years of my life. Got to meet so many incredible bands and people, the most amazing connections. And I didn't even understand the freaking connections back then either. Like, this is how naive I was. I'm like, seriously? Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know. I think I just not even think I did. I lived in my own little world. Like, I went to work, took care of business. I didn't drink, didn't do drugs, didn't do any of the extracurricular activities if any other people were doing it. I certainly didn't know about it, didn't care to know about it. My concern was my 3 kids, my house, my home. That was it, period. And wow, how things have changed. Now I'm 62 years old, and now my attitude is, I want to help you. I want to serve you. I want to do what I can to save you years of anguish, and able to help you get to a new place in finances, again, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and just really give you those great connections that I knew I had, or that I had before, but I have now, but on in a different market, right? It's not, hi Glenn, nice to have you here. So my market isn't, rock and roll, and it's, but I still have major connections, like I said, to some wonderful, amazing girls, men and women in this industry. And I just didn't really realize it. And once I did, I said, oh my gosh, I got to come in and talk about it. I got to come in and share this with you. And, a lot of my greatest, funnest times, like I said, was being on stage. One of them, that picture that you see with a hard hat, that was being on stage with ZZ Top. I was asked to go on stage with them with their brand new, very first, or their song, Junkyard Song. And we were at the stadium in Minneapolis, and they had this conveyor belt that went across the stage. I saw my glasses, these ZZ Top glasses that were made for the lights so that you could see out into the audience, because the lights were just so crazy. And there were 6 of us girls from Solid Gold that were asked to go on stage for this and wear these construction outfits. And so we came out, in our construction outfits, and I was actually invited because I knew the lighting one of the lighting people for Bon Jovi. And so he's like, hey, he knows me as Shelly because we became friends, because I dated their drum tech for a year and a half. So I got to go to a lot of their shows, do a lot of the fun things, got to meet a lot of incredible people. And so when I was invited to go on ZZ's Top, it was an honor. And I really didn't even still know how big of an honor that was, because that was one of the things, I just did things like, and I still do that. And this is where the mind shift is, you guys. Oh my gosh. Like, nobody, like, I was never big on, oh yeah, Bon Jovi's amazing, Trace. Are you kidding me? we did the Slippery When Wet tour. That's when I was with those guys, and it was over the top fun, hanging out with Cinderella, hanging out with Bon Jovi. Oh yeah, we did that. It was great. And again, I didn't drink or do drugs. So can you imagine like being around people that were just like partying, partying, and I just witnessed it and had fun and hung out and did all the things. So that was all great. And anyways, I forgot where I was going with it. Oh yeah, to be on stage with ZZ Top. So to this day, I'm never I never get weirded out about people that are very high profile because I just never have. Because my thought has always been and still is, you know what? They're humans just like you and I, right? However, I did go into imposter syndrome when I went to do an interview with a really great friend of mine, or a friend of mine, but I also, he's very influential in the automotive area and just this incredible guy. And I froze, like I couldn't do it. And I'm like, what is going on? So there's a lot of growth, and there's growth for everybody coming out of an industry. And what I learned about myself at that moment is that there was a lot of shame. Like I didn't even realize there was a lot of shame around, oh my God, how could I do this interview with this guy? I come from the stripper industry. Like I don't want to tarnish his reputation. And I had a really good friend remind me that this guy came from gambling, dating strippers, doing all the things. And I was like, oh, he's real, like, come on. Like we all have a story. So you know what? Again, it's what we did. It's not who we are. So that's why I'm coming in. And I'll be coming in live every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern, so that we can chat more about the things. So getting back to Michael J. Peters, one of those guys, right? So he started these elite, massive, beautiful clubs, and his club, he now, and again, like I said, he had to be out of the industry for years. Now he's back. He did consulting during the whole time, and again, his first manager was Dennis Agori, and I know. That Dennis, like I said, really, really changed a lot for me too. And Dennis, I became one of his best entertainers. And Wayne Chung saw that in me. So, sometimes, and I know you've heard this before, sometimes we just got to believe what other people believe in us. And sometimes we believe, or just learn to believe what others believe in us before we believe in ourselves. And that was a big stepping stone for me back then. And then, like I said, I kind of lost my way and just kind of flailing. And then I said, you know what? No more. So I started plugging in, doing connecting with the right people, doing the things. And so I'm able to be here with you and sharing all this greatness that is moving forward. And so again, I was an entertainer in a club that was very upscale. And again, it didn't matter how entertaining our club was or how beautiful or how gorgeous. People knowing that I, script it all for a living vilified me. And it did create a lot of things. Like I said, I became very ashamed for a while and became very, oh my God, I can't let people know. I don't want to hurt my grandkids with this. And then I finally was like, you know what am I going to not talk about what my life was at all ever to my grandkids? Like what grandma do for a living while their mom and dad grew up? Let's see, nothing. Are you joking? So I collectively sat though with my family and we discussed all this. And I said, hey, look, you know what? This is what I want to do. Just be prepared that, people are going to come back out, probably, whatever it is they do. Because again, we live in a culture where people just can be even more rude and more ugly than they've ever been. And I said, I don't crap and care about them, because you know what, they're mean and ugly. And I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the people who want different in their lives. I'm talking to the people who decided that, hey, you know what, I just want to learn more. Even that one thing that can change everything. And let me tell you, Glenn and Teresa that are on here, when we talk about finances, like I am in a group, not was, I am in a group with a very, very high profile lady who actually worked with, hi, John, nice to have you here, who actually worked, wrote the book, co-wrote the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? And they talk about all these different things. And her name is Sharon Lechter. And now I was in a group with Sharon. I had read the book Outwitting the Devil, and I was in a book club with her, another beautiful woman named Lisa Colgrove. I'm throwing their names out there for a reason. So these are the types of people that, you know, if you want to do something different, you want to learn something different, you've got to engage in different things, right? So I was in that group. Well, Sharon works in financial literacy. She's actually worked at the White House. She works with kids, or that's her main objective outside of Rich Dad Poor Dad too, is to work with kids in financial literacy. And that was another big moment for me, aha moment. Again, being in this industry, I didn't teach my kids anything about money. And I only did what my parents did, right? And again, nobody taught me. I didn't reach out. I didn't know who to reach out to. I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know what to do. So all those hundreds of thousands of dollars I just blew on putting stuff on my walls was absolutely freaking ridiculous. So I'm trying to save you from yourself. All right. So that's the goal. Let's just do that. And Teresa and Glenn right here. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? They introduced me to an investment piece that, oh my gosh, I have never had happen ever in my entire life. So I have been creating an extra income that I never would have known about had I not connected with Teresa and Glenn. And I am forever grateful for that. And so these are the things that I get to share and teach with other people, things that can actually give great benefit to those in this serving industry that they know nothing about. Because we don't know what we don't know, right? But when we do know, what do we do about that knowledge? Do we implement it? Do we take the action, or do we just sit idly by? And I've done that too for years. I've learned about certain things and like, you know, what you got to learn, you got to figure out what it is that's your priority. You got to figure out what it is your why. You got to figure out what is your vision. And a lot of people don't even know what their vision is. I know for me, like on a daily basis, mine was getting through the day, right? I was basically winging things. Like I'm a winger. I'm a wing it by your pants type person. Let's just figure it out as we go. Well, that figuring out as I go, I'm sitting here at 62 years old and I finally got my life together. So I can sit and share this with you. Do I have incredible stories? Oh my God, yeah, like I said, you know, hanging out with Bon Jovi and being on stage with ZZ Top, and, you know, having Tesla stay at our house. You know, there's a lot of really fun stories, but did that change anything? Sure, it gave me a lot of really fun, great memories, but it didn't do anything about my finances, didn't do anything about, you know, my future to change anything about that, right? So you can have the fun and you can have the stories, but you also got to have a means, you got to have a way to go into the next step of your life. And that's where my hashtag life does begin again happened to. It was 12 years ago now, coming up in March. I had my oldest, my firstborn, had passed away. My then husband then left me for another friend in our group of friends who actually used to be an ex-stripper too. And I had cancer, and gratefully, you know, they were able to find it in time, and I had surgery and had all that taken care of. So that was really a great thing. And then we'll have a great, big, huge discussion on my son when we talk about the lies we tell ourselves and you do you, boo. No, you don't want to do you, boo. Okay, so we're going to have a huge discussion about that. We'll talk about that in the following weeks, not next week, but it's coming up. So you want to keep coming back because that story is very, very powerful. My son was that child, my middle child, ended up in prison, and we'll talk more about that. And he was there for 9.5 years. So it was a whole other big thing. My daughter was pregnant, lost a little baby girl. And when I tell you it happened in a period of 8 months and I literally couldn't catch my breath, that's when life just sucked it to me in a big way. And that's when I realized that I had to do something different. And that one of the things that I did is I just had a really great friend that reached out to me and asked me how I was, told him what was going on. The guy's heart is, oh my gosh, it was just broke. And he's he just challenged me to do one thing a day. And that's what I did. So I started getting up, doing one thing. That's actually how I was introduced to Glenn, through a company that we were together that literally saved my life. And so we'll talk more about that too. So there's always a way. Anything is possible. I do believe that with all my heart. And I believe that none of us are sitting right here either for no reason. I believe that the higher calling put us together. That's my belief, is maybe completely different than yours, but I definitely believe we're all here for a reason. And I am so very, very grateful for each and every one of you. And I'm so appreciative and grateful for you being on this journey with me. You have no idea what you've done for me to be the light in my life, to empower me to become the best I can be. And uh, I just am so grateful. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here. We're coming up at the top of the hour. Feel free, like I said, to come back into the page. You can go back to the beginning of this. Again, next week, I'll be here next Saturday, 11 Eastern time, right here live on this page. And this video will be downloaded and posted to my YouTube channel at Shelly Jean, Jean. Would love to have you subscribe and make some comments, whatever it is you want to do. Girlfriend, I want to thank you so much. You have a beautiful day too, and I'm so grateful for you too. I absolutely freaking love you. Love that we're in this journey together. You're not only in friendship, but also in this new financial journey that we're on. And I can't wait to see where we're headed. So cool. Glenn, you too. You just keep bringing the goods. Glenn actually just got High Achievement Award the other day for being in his company, and he got a nice whopping huge bonus. So there's so much goodness in this. All right. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your day and happy Saturday. Thank you so much for being here. Mwah. Bye. Whoops.